Hey, you guys, I'm sorry I'm late. I had a little trouble getting moving this morning after last night. How is everybody? Happy Monday. First, I want to thank you guys for being here today, but I also want to thank everybody who came out last night for the charity stream. We raised over $700 so far for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and I am so incredibly grateful to you guys. I can't even begin to tell you. Thank you for supporting me last night and always. You guys are fantastic. I'm so blessed and grateful to have people like you in my corner. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Which guy, Brandy? There's two guys. One of them is Jesse Miss Kelly Jr., and the other guy is Damian Eccles. Both of them are, excuse me, smoking in that intro. The one with the black hair is Damien. The one with the shorter hair is Jesse. That's who's smoking in the. Hold on, I'm choking apparently. That's who's smoking. Sorry, did I like cough and not mute? I'm sorry. I thought I did. My bad. Okay, also, um, as far as the stream goes last night, so there are three songs that got me. Um, I it's they're not going to do anything with the charity money. That's going to go to St. Jude's, but it's blocked in a couple of territories from Careless Whisper, Don't Trust a Hoe, and Down We Go because of the TikTok. And then, I'm not smoking. I'm in the house. But anyway, actually, that's Jesse Miss Kelly. That's who you're thinking of, Jesse Miss Kelly. He's not a bad guy. He's part of the West Memphis Three. Um, but anywho, so they got blocked. So I'm trimming those segments out. YouTube now has an option just to mute the music, so that's what I'm doing. But I have to do it 3 times. I'm on number 2. So of course the live chat won't be on there, which is fine. That's no big deal. It is what it is. But so yeah, there you go. All right, now for what we came to talk about today. So, couple of things. That's not what I wanted to click. Fantastic. Thanks for that. Here we go. This is what I want. So what we came to talk about today is this Juror Z. Okay. Now, the difference between Juror Z and the egg lady, okay, is that the egg lady her number is like Juror 785. She was dismissed before the deliberations. Okay, we're talking about Alec Murdaugh, South Carolina versus Alec Murdaugh for the murder of his son and wife. And then after that, there was claims made by the defense that Becky Hill, who is or was the clerk of court, who's also under investigation currently, there was claims of jury tampering, that she had conversations about the trial that were inappropriate with the jurors, and that she somehow influenced their verdict. Now, so there's 2 jurors that have come out about this. And like I said, the juror number 785, who's known as the egg lady, she did not actually deliberate. However, Juror Z did deliberate. Juror Z also testified in the hearing for the motion for a retrial based on these jury tampering claims. So currently, where Alec Murdaugh, where his appeal sits currently, is with the state of South Carolina Supreme Court. I have a feeling that they're going to rule on an err on the side of caution and give him a retrial, which is going to cost the taxpayers in South Carolina more money because, again, now that he's been tried once, the probability of being able to seat an unbiased jury, 12 people plus extras, plus alternates, so 16 usually, is going to be even more difficult. So, of course, they're probably going to have to try it in a different county, which, means transportation expenses, all of the things. So, should he get a new trial, which I think he's going to because of jury tampering allegations. And I will say, for her part, Juror Z did testify in the first hearing, and she did testify that the comments that Becky Hill made did influence her verdict, which is, it's important. I have to say, though, listening to the jurors that have spoken out and listening to that hearing, there is something about all of it that doesn't ring true for me. I would think that if a person influenced your deliberation, your verdict, you would be able to cite specifically what the person said to you. And so that's where my issue is. There's something that just, I'm going to let you guys listen to it and you guys tell me what you have to say. So Neat Noodle says, the Ward case studies, if he gets a new trial, they have to use the same evidence, correct? I mean, they can't introduce anything not previously introduced. Oh boy, that is a lawyer question. Yes. I think the correct answer is yes. I don't know about the inability to introduce anything not previously introduced. I actually think that what happens in a retrial is it's not like they don't. I think the procedure goes pretty much the same as the first trial prior to the first trial, meaning there will be motions about the evidence. There will be arguments about what evidence can come in, will come in, won't come in. And so if I think the state has to use the same evidence. However, the defense can introduce new evidence, and the trial judge will hear arguments from both the state and the defense, deciding whether or not this evidence can be admitted. Now, this is what I think will happen if there is a retrial. I think that if there is a retrial, the bare minimum of the financial crimes will come in. See, that is how Judge Newman ruled initially. However, Mr. Griffin, when he was doing the cross-examination of some of the state's witnesses, because of the way that the subject matter of his questions, he's the one that opened the door to more of the financial crimes coming in. And I don't think that he will make that mistake twice. So I think that that is what we will see that's different. I think really what it comes down to for me personally is that, yes, the financial crimes were interesting just to hear about on their face. For me, they didn't move me one way or another as far as whether he killed Paul and Maggie or not. Okay, for me, what it was is that kennel video that's been, from Paul's phone. That is what, for me personally, stayed on the fence. I watched, I waited, I paid attention. But it really tipped the scales for me to guilty because he absolutely categorically denied being out there. And the timeline was so tight for him to have denied being out there when he was actually out there is in the critical time was, in my opinion, what tipped the scales for me to believe that he is guilty of this crime. So that's, that's how I feel about it. All right. So I think what we should do is we're going to watch interview with Juror Z, and then I want to refresh you guys about her testimony in the subsequent hearing. So I think that's where we're going to start. I have closed captions turned on. The audio is turned on. Allow me to add this to the stream, and we will get started. Are y'all ready? All right, here we go.
Mandy, tell me, as you sit here today, I'm sure people have to be asking you, or people at home watching this may be wondering, why come forward now and speak out now about this?
I guess with Myra's new book coming out, I just was going to be there with her, and just some of the things that happened.
Okay, and taking these in turn, Myra, you're referring to Myra Crosby, who was known as the Egg Lady for a long time. She was dismissed from the deliberating panel because of speaking about the case to 3 people. She's writing a book, you said.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other thing you said, in addition to that, to support her and be there with her in the interview, you said some other things. What other things, Mandy?
Okay, so right away, I just want to chickens and tire tracks. One thing I want to point out is that there is there's a clear delay between the interviewer and Mandy here. So take that into consideration. It's not that she's taking, you can tell when she hears the question, okay? So that's not the delay that I'm talking about. But there is a definite delay in once she hears the question, articulating an answer. And there is just something, I cannot put my finger on it. I can't articulate what it is. But let's keep watching, and maybe I will, maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe I can put it into words for you guys. All right, here we go. You know, I have to pause for commentary because fair use. Morning, MP Lynn. So good to see you, baby.
Other things, like, what do you mean?
Well, I was just asking you what you mean. You said, I asked you why speak out now, and you said, well, partly because Myra's book, to be there with her, and then because of some other things. I just wanted to know what those other things are.
I guess because it's kind of hard to say.
What do you mean it's hard to say, ma'am? See, this is where it's bothersome. This is where it's problematic for me. I'm going to really try to be nicer. I'm not going to be so harsh on her, but come on. No, Ween baby, this is not the Egg Lady. The Egg Lady's name is Myra. This is Mandy. The Egg Lady didn't actually deliberate. She was dismissed before they got to that point where they were drawing names. No, Yes. Before she wasn't, she was dismissed before they picked the 12 jurors. And then, of course, then everybody who else is left over and not picked, they become the alternates, but she didn't deliberate. She was dismissed prior to that. So this lady is known as Juror Z, and she did deliberate. But I have a hard time understanding how you make mention of some other things as if you have a list of things that are reasons why you are speaking out now, yet you you say it's when you're asked specifically what are those other things, you are over here like, well, that's hard to say. Well, you're the one that said it, lady. I don't even I can't. Let's just keep going. Let me try to be nicer.
I guess because they're trying to throw his case, well, not throw his case, but they're trying to get him another appeal. And they had an opportunity for us to come out there. And I just came out just to tell my side.
And Mandy, you were the only juror on the panel who said at the hearing conducted by Justice Toll that you were improperly influenced by Becky Hill. I want to take a listen together to some of what you said. And this is where you discussed the point where you said Becky Hill told you to, quote unquote, watch his actions.
Oh, I did. Hold on a second.
Did you hear Miss Becky?
I didn't even realize this part was in here. So that's good because let's see. Okay. That's good. So I mean, I have her testimony. I got it already ready to go. So let's see what they play on here, and that'll maybe save us some time, and I can keep this to the lunch hour. So Tobin says, Jen Lou, is it her testimony at the hearing that is leading to a mistrial? Well, it's technically not a mistrial because she's the lone juror of all the jury members that testified at this hearing. She's the one juror that actually said that the things that Becky Hill said, the comments that she made, the conversations that she had influenced her verdict. All of the other jurors said, no, they didn't. It did nothing that she said. They based their verdicts basically on what they were supposed to, which is the evidence. However, so this is the trial the hearing they're going to play right now. That is the first appeal. That's the initial appeal. They have appealed this motion all the way to the state Supreme Court, the South Carolina State Supreme Court, and they are going to, I have no idea when their answer is due back, but they are taking a look at it. And so that's what's going on. It's because this judge that's on the screen right now, she said that she didn't find Becky Hill's testimony credible. She didn't find Juror Z's testimony credible. And quite frankly, she felt like the testimony that was offered by all of the other jurors outweighed those two, outweighed everything, and they weren't influenced. And so she said, no, I'm not. His motion for a new trial was denied by this judge, by this circuit. Now it's escalated. Basically think about it like the appeals process. Think about it like when you call to a call center to talk, right? You have an issue with a bill, right? And you get the representative. That's who this is, okay? And then you say, all right, well, you're not resolving my issue to my satisfaction. I want to speak to your supervisor, right? And then that supervisor is like not resolving your issue to their satisfaction. So you speak to the supervisor of all the supervisors. That is the state Supreme Court. And then the supervisor of speaking to the U.S. Supreme Court would be like speaking to the owner. Finally, you're not none of the supervisors can help you, but now you're done and you want to speak to the owner. So there you go. That's how I think about it. All right, here we go.
Hill make any comment about this case before your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
If yes, what did Ms. Hill say?
To watch his actions.
To watch his actions? What else?
To watch him closely.
And then the
Okay, so what did Becky Hill do? Should she have said that? No, she should not have any contact with the jurors beyond saying the jurors need more water, the jurors need tissues, the jurors, their lunch order. That is what Becky Hill's job is. She is the conduit between the court and the jury. The only time that the judge speaks directly to the jury is when he or she asks them at the beginning of the day, did you read anything, look at anything, talk to anybody, that question. Then the admonishment at the end of the day, right? But during the trial, the judge doesn't interact with the jury beyond that. And that is why the clerk of court is so important, because they're a conduit. And she should never have spoken about the trial, given instructions in any capacity. She should never have said, watch him, watch his actions, watch what he says, right? But what I haven't heard yet from the jury that have come out is, don't you think he's guilty? Or what? Or after Alec testifies, didn't you find that his crying was faked? Or didn't he seem insincere? I find that just simply stating to watch him, although inappropriate, how in the actual F is that influencing? It just doesn't make sense to me. And this is also true. Becky Hill does have people to handle that, and she should have stayed in her office. She should not have had anything to that, but she is the conduit between the jury and the court. So if the jurors need anything, they typically tell the bailiff, like Neat Noodle pointed out here, and they relay it to the clerk of court, and the clerk of court relays it to the judge. There's a lot of, she shouldn't have had anything to do with the jurors, period. That's it, the end. And it is inappropriate. And now it's going to cost the taxpayers even more money. This was an expensive trial to begin with. And now he's going to end up, I think, with a retrial. Because whenever there is the air of jury misconduct, that our whole system of justice is based on juries in this country. And so I think the South Carolina Supreme Court is going to rule that he needs a new trial because of this. So thanks, Becky. All right, here we go.
The justice then asked you, Mandy, how did those statements influence your verdict? Would you answer that question here for us, please?
That she made it seem like he was, already guilty.
And so when you were deliberating, walk us through that, please. Are you saying that the statements affected your deliberations, or were you unable to separate them from, the facts and the evidence? And, is the oath that you take, says you must just focus on what's presented in the courtroom. I guess kind of explain to us how those statements might have influenced your ultimate decision.
Well, at first I voted undecided, and then, like I said, in the other interview, that some of the the other jurors and just thinking about like everybody was ready to go, everybody was ready to get it over with, and so then that's whenever I had voted guilty.
Mm-hmm. And I want to welcome
Hold
in
on
now
a
your
minute.
attorney, Joe McCullough.
Yeah, now she's got an attorney. Let me just say this, okay? The question was, Mandy, how is what Becky Hill said to you, how did that influence your decision? And your answer was, well, I was undecided, and then the other jurors were ready to get it over with. So to me, that implies that you're implying that it was the other jury members that caused you to vote the way they did, not Becky. That's what I'm inferring from your implication, ma'am. The question is about Becky, and you haven't explained at all how Becky influenced you. Okay. This is going to be probably a long live if I don't quit pausing it. We're 7 minutes in out of a 21-minute interview. We're in big trouble, y'all. All right, here we go.
Someone, a friend of Court TV Network, been on many times before throughout the progression of the Murdaugh case. I told our viewers earlier, and so you both know, full disclosure, we had a lot of tech difficulties connecting with you both, and we were also trying to connect with Myra Crosby, the egg lady juror, as she became known as well. As Joe, you represent her too. So Joe, kind of take us back to when you came to represent both Myra and Mandy, and kind of walk us through how you've guided them throughout the process after the trial in making notifications, particularly Mandy here, notifications about improper influence.
Sure. Good morning, Julie. I first became involved when Myra Crosby asked if I could get the press off her back, so to speak. And similarly, sometime thereafter, I began conversations with Mandy for the same purpose and talked with a couple of other jurors. Somewhere along in those succeeding months, the defense began to contact jurors, and that was in support of their ultimate motion for a new trial. The defense contacted me. I did not contact them. They asked if I would allow them to talk to these two jurors and any others that I was involved with. I made arrangements. I didn't go to the meeting. They interviewed them, and they secured from both these ladies affidavits. And I will say this about Myra. Her book, as she has said on other programs, and I regret she couldn't be on today, her writing a book was a matter of frustration. It was not a book she began to write while she was on the jury, unlike others. In Mandy's situation, she obviously struggles with you a little bit this morning. This television thing, being on television, being the center of attention, it makes her uncomfortable. I think her affidavits, and there are two of them, speak for themselves. And you know, I sympathize with you, Mandy. I think this is just hard. It's difficult being in that very small community. But I think that what, as she has explained it to me, and I'm not trying to put words in her mouth or interpret for her, but the sum total of her affidavits were that the clerk of court's conversations with her and with the jury were such as to influence them in a way to reach a guilty verdict. That's my understanding from her. That's what I think she told the court. That's what she placed in the affidavit. And she said in a subsequent affidavit presented to Justice Toll that she felt pressured and had Ms. Hill's will imposed upon her to reach a guilty verdict before she ever walked in the jury room.
Okay, but sir, I'd like to just make this argument to counter that first argument. She's sitting here today, right, and in her affidavit, unable to give an example of something that Becky Hill said that caused her to feel influenced in a way that made her vote the way that she voted for the verdict. That's number one. Number two, as she sat here today, her explanation of other things was that the other jury members had deliberated for as long as they were going to deliberate. She still had some maybe lingering doubts, lingering questions. She wanted to deliberate longer, but she felt pressure from the other jurors to vote guilty. Now, to me, it seems these are separate situations. Was Becky Hill inappropriate? Yes. She shouldn't have had any conversations at all about the trial in any way, shape, or form with the jury, point blank, period, the end. Okay? But the way that this Miss Mandy is explaining it over here, this is why there's something off to me. For me personally, when you've experienced something, okay, and you're talking about your experience and it is the truth, you're able to tell the truth. The story doesn't change. The core story. When you retell the story time and time again, the core details don't change. Do you maybe remember smaller details? Sure, because your memory gets jogged a little bit, but the core story stays the same. And this lady, for all intents and purposes, seems to have, when it comes right down to it, when it counts, she is incapable, for whatever reason, of articulating the same details that she stated in her affidavit. That's my problem, and I don't understand where the disconnect is. Why didn't you speak to a bailiff? Why didn't you tell somebody along the way? Why did you say nothing? Is it because you didn't know that she wasn't allowed to be doing that? I mean, I think that the question that was posed to the jury each and every single morning of trial, at the start of the trial day, Judge Newman would ask about anyone, because no one was supposed to be talking to them about the trial. To me, anyone and no one are very clear. So why, if this was going on, why didn't you say something then? And I there's a disconnect for me. Also, by the way, hey, Allie, babe, thank you so much for last night. But also, happy Labor Day to everybody. I forgot to say that too. There is a disconnect here that I just cannot I cannot wrap my brain around. I'm having such a difficult time with this. Let's keep listening, and I need to be quiet for a while. Here we go.
And then, of course, the jury room was a different kind of a crucible, but there was pressure from both directions, Julie.
Joe, appreciate that. I have another clip, and Mandy, this is a clip during that hearing with Justice Toll, where you're talking about Becky Hill pressuring you to speak to the media after the verdict. Let's take a listen to that and to Becky Hill's response.
After the verdict and immediately before sentencing, Ms. Hill pressured the jury to speak as a group to reporters from a television show. Is that an accurate statement of what she said?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you at all pressure the jurors to speak, or did you just tell them that it was their option to speak or not, and here's the contact information?
I did not pressure the jury to speak.
Okay, so you hear what Becky Hill said there under oath. Mandy, what's your response to that?
When we were deliberating, it was more of like it felt like, like she was trying to get us to like hurry up. Like, that's the way I felt. I guess it's kind of hard to think about it now. But I know the smokers in there, they were ready to leave.
Oh my God, blame the smokers.
And I don't know.
And Mindy, let's talk a little bit about the verdict. The jury unanimously voted guilty. You were one of those guilty votes. At the time, the judge asked all the jurors to raise their hand if they were in agreement with the verdict. You did. Then the judge even went through the polling of the members of the jury and asked all of you individually if you agreed with it. You said yes. Are you saying today, here and now, you no longer agree with the verdict that you made?
I would love for the behavior panel to do something with this.
I still had doubts about the verdict, even after, whenever I was finally at home and started thinking about everything. I wish that I could go back and change it, but, I can't. So
Tell us, please, Mandy, what makes you go back and wish you could change it?
Yeah, tell us something, Mandy. You're not really telling us anything, lady. And I don't know if you're just shy or what the deal is, but come on,
I still had more questions that I felt like didn't get answered. Sorry. So I guess if I could go, go back and redo
whatever
that night,
hey, babe, good to see you.
Then I probably would have said not guilty.
Based on what? That's what
For what
he's asking.
reason, Mandy?
Thank you. Lord, I couldn't do it, y'all. Even her lawyer knows
Because of, like I said in the other interview, they never found the murder weapons, and I know they don't find them all the time. But it just felt like
back, Ava. I love that you guys express yourself.
They never looked for anybody else.
Holy. In my chat, I love it.
And I had a little difficulty hearing you. Did you reference the murder weapons a moment ago? Is that what you were saying? Just Joe's nodding. I just wanted to make sure I was clear.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, they didn't. They never found the murder weapons, and I know, like on the other interview, a lot of times they don't find murder weapons.
That's true. That's correct. Okay,
do you think Alec Murdaugh disposed of the murder weapons?
I can't say that. I have no idea.
Now, tell me, in going through this trial, being a deliberating juror, and was one thing, and then all the aftermath, and we're still in the aftermath, right? I mean, we may not even have a firm resolution depending on what the Supreme Court in South Carolina decides. Mandy, what's it been like for you? Give all of our viewers watching at home an idea of how this trial has changed your life.
Bless this interviewer. She's really trying. It's like pulling teeth.
It really hasn't changed my life much. I don't really pay too much attention to like social media.
Wait a minute. Espera. Didn't your attorney just say like 3 minutes ago? It could have been 30 minutes ago. I don't know. I find this interview completely tedious, and it's not on the fault of the interviewer. It is on the fault of the interviewee. Okay. But didn't your attorney just say that the reason you contacted him was because you wanted to get the press off your backs? Now, by show of hands in the chat, put a 1 in the chat. if you think being hounded by press is a life-changing event and also deliberate, now you're, and this is another thing. Okay, that's the first question. Okay, put it 2 in the chat if you don't. All right, then I'm going to ask the second question. I would think that being a juror on a murder trial, period, would change your life, because most people don't come into contact with true crime cases on a regular, like that, right, on a regular basis. And even those of us who do cover true crime, I'm given to understand that covering true crime, covering a trial from the outside of the trial, right, is very different than being in that courtroom day after day and actually watching the process in person. So I would think just, in that way, it would be a life-changing event. Then coupled with the fact that it is such a high-profile case, that would also alter your life a little bit. But yet, here we go. I can't do it with this lady. Okay, here we go.
Because everybody is entitled to their own opinion. The only thing that still kind of sticks with me with the trial is the pictures of Paul and Maggie, because they were gruesome. But that is basically the only thing. But so, like I said, I don't really get on, I get on social media, but if I see anything that's about Juror Z, it really doesn't, I ignore it.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you'll be ignoring.
You're smart to do that and talk with your attorney, Joe McCullough here, can help guide you, through all of this and what comes next. Mandy, thank you for being so open and answering our questions this morning. We really appreciate your time. And Joe, wanted to offer you the last word here. Is there anything else you think that's important for people to know about this process, or for what, or with what your clients, Mandy Pierce with us today, and then Myra Crosby, the quote-unquote the egg lady, your other client who unfortunately we couldn't connect with this morning. Anything you'd like us to know? Yeah,
Julie, thanks. 2 quick things. I won't make a summation, but I think...
Excuse me just a second, attorney, sir. What I'd like to say is, if I understand the interviewer, she's making the best out of a very difficult situation. But I have to say, if this is Mandy being open, I really would love to see what she is when she's closed off, because, whoo, yikes on bikes. All right, now let's get to your closing thoughts that are not a summation, and go.
I think it is really important for viewers and people to understand it's natural for people to second guess an important decision they made. What Mandy and what Myra have experienced here is a second guessing that began with their concerns that the state had not proven its case before the jury room was ever entered by the jury. They had questions then. Myra was then removed. Mandy continued. She had questions because of what was told to her by the clerk of court, as she has said under oath. She had questions going into the jury room. So now, today, this morning, still having questions. It's not like she woke up yesterday and decided, maybe I made the wrong decision. She's had that concern, and that's why she's come forward, because she feels, as Myra Crosby feels, and other jurors testified and have talked with the defense and have experienced or expressed the same concerns. What? Now, I will say secondarily, responsible commentators should be focused on the jury tampering element of this case. I know a commentator on your program yesterday criticized these 2 jurors for coming forward, criticize them for.
Okay, I consider myself to be a responsible commentator. And yes, I have concerns over allegations of jury tampering, as I just discussed prior, because our system of justice in the United States is based on a jury. Okay, I get it. However, it is within my discretion, and a part of commentary is opinion. And I'm not criticizing her for coming forward. What I'm criticizing is that there seems to be some type of disconnect between what's in the affidavit that she swore to and the things that she is saying now. She is having a very difficult time articulating exactly what was done. And in my opinion, that goes to credibility. I think that likely Murdaugh is going to get another trial because of the allegations of jury tampering. They're going to err on the side of caution. It is what it is. But I don't appreciate that, sir, which I know you're not talking to me because you've referenced the other commentator on the channel prior. But I think that's where people are having a hard time. Hi, I'm people. It's me.
Breaching their juror oath by talking to the clerk of court or saying that they talked to the clerk of court. That just is wrong-headed, and it just doesn't accurately reflect the system. The first thing the jurors were told by Judge Newman at the beginning of the trial, your guide through this process, your liaison with the court will be the clerk of court. So it is quite natural when the clerk of court, that person who is in charge of you for the next 6 weeks, comes to you and asks questions, as these ladies have said occurred, and then used her position to persuade, as these ladies have said. There's nothing mysterious about that. There's nothing untoward about that. There's nothing improper of these jurors responding to the person they've been told is in charge of them.
Okay, but what is problematic and what is a cause for concern is that when it comes down to it, when they're asked to testify, not Egg Lady, that's different, but Myra or Mandy here, Juror Z, when she's asked to testify about what she swore to in an affidavit, she is unable to elaborate. She's unable to speak about exactly what it is that Becky Hill did that caused her to change, to vote the way that she did. So that's where the problem comes in. I'm not criticizing them for coming forward. I'm criticizing the fact that they've come forward and have decided to do interviews, right? And they're unable to talk about what it is that actually happened. Egg Lady is much more capable of articulating, but she's clearer about what she says occurred. But Mandy here is really struggling. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't, I mean, Egg Lady, Myra, the South Carolina State Supreme Court is going to read her affidavit and everything like that, and take her testimony and stuff into consideration. But really, she didn't deliberate on the jury, so that's kind of irrelevant at this point. Mandy did, and when you are testifying and you can't tell what happened, that's a problem. Love you too, Gracie. Thank you. I hope that was intended for me. If she had just come forward, testified at the hearing for a retrial, and that was the end of it, that would be one thing. But she didn't. She decided to join up with the Egg Lady, who has a book out, and go on a Fox program and do an entire interview. And then she decided that she was going to do this interview. And I'm sorry, not sorry, but when you do an interview, you're subject to criticism. The end. Please continue.
So for a commentator, a lawyer, to say there's something wrong, that's just shows a lack of knowledge about the process.
Well, and I believe what was said wasn't that it was wrong. If my memory serves me correctly, Joe, what Attorney Eric Bland was talking about was why now? Why now are your two clients coming forward? Why speaking out? Has there been any influence, anything at all that's occurred, from the time the trial ended till this point? So it was more in the form of a question, but.
Thank you for defending your guests about what happened. And actually, quite frankly, those are fair questions. It's a question, not an accusation. And you as an attorney, sir, should know the difference. I'm not even an attorney, and I know the difference. In fact, I'm not even a high school graduate. I got my good enough diploma, and I know the difference.
This is why
Julie,
we give everybody a chance to speak.
Yeah.
This is why we wanted to ask your clients directly. And we actually, wanted you all to come on that day after we saw that the Fox interview was done, and there was unavailability, as I understood it, with your clients. And so Eric, who represents 6 of the other jurors, just said that they were not improperly influenced. So at any rate, the court isn't going to consider anything that's being discussed on this program. It's only what's in the transcripts, as you know, Joe, that they're going to consider as they make their decision for Alec Murdaugh. But it's been wonderful talking with you both. We'd love to consider continue the conversation. And if you'd consider having Myra pick another date that might work well for her, we'd love to speak with her too.
Yeah, so there you have it, you guys. Ava, thank you so much. You're not the average cookie though, Jen Lou, for the record. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And when you have 6 jurors saying no, right? And then you have a juror saying, yes, she was unduly influenced, yet can't talk about or give examples of how she felt influenced or things that were said to her that influenced her. It's problematic, in my opinion. But there you go. Take that for what it's worth. Now, on to Boone. Okay, guys. Tonight is the night. No backing out. No putting it off. We gon' talk Boone. And I got stuff to tell y'all. Very excited to discuss Sarah Boone with y'all because I have been doing some research, some thinking, some pondering, and I have some stuff I want to talk to you guys about and get your opinions on. And but the last thing I'm going to leave you with before I do the outro is late on the 30th of August, the clerk of courts, the clerk's website was updated to include Sarah Boone's newest attorney claiming her. Basically, he declared he's her attorney. I like to be, I like to think of it as, he's claiming her. He's not new phone who dis. This is not a situation with, like with Letitia Stout, saying that Jose Baez was going to represent her, and Jose Baez was interviewed and asked about it, and he's all, new phone who dis. I don't know her. So there you go. Anywho, and because some of the stuff I want to talk to you guys about is, records and things like that, but also there's something I want to play for you guys, and I want to get your opinions on it tonight. I shared it on my community tab. It is from Mentor Lawyer. And I want to get you guys I want to hear what you guys think about what Mentor Lawyer had to say. I'm curious about that. So I want to thank you guys all so very, very much for spending your lunch hour with me. Those of you on the replay, thank you so much for spending this 57 minutes with me. I appreciate it very, very much. If you haven't done so, do me a favor. Give your girl a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever way you're feeling today. No judgment. What happens at the ward stays at the ward. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see all of you, hopefully, tonight. Bye.
'Cause it's Friday You ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do. Well, fuck you.
No malicious content or effort was towards it.
No militia. Finish her.
Minutes later.
We all do a little mad sometimes.